Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Words of Power. Today we're going to be talking about optimism, and coincidentally, we've got sunshine outside. No matter how well your situation is going, no matter how good your life is at the moment, the truth is, things could always be better. If I think about it, there's probably a dozen things I could complain about to you right now. But we're not to that point in the video yet. There's also probably a dozen things that you could complain about as well, things where you recognize, yes, my life could be better. But I think something that we fail to recognize so often is that our lives could be a lot worse. All of our lives, all of our situations, they could be a lot worse. There's a story that a man told me once, and the man who told me this story himself was not in a great position in his life. He had very little money, he had very poor health, and very few people in his life that seemed to care about him. Yet he had this optimistic attitude, and he told me this story. A story about a man in a similar situation. No family, no money. He was down to his last dollar. And with his last dollar, he bought a banana and a length of rope. He then climbed up into a tree, and he began to eat that banana as his last meal. He dropped the peel to the ground. He tied the rope around his neck. And then he watched as another man crawled along the ground below him. And he watched this man crawling along the ground come to that banana peel that he had dropped, and the man below him ate the banana peel. And then the man below him continued to crawl along the street. The man in the tree took the rope from around his neck, climbed down, and went on with his life, recognizing things could always be a lot worse. See, things could always be a lot worse. We need this optimism in our lives. We need to become optimists. And people say, well, it's tough. How do you always look on the bright side of things? How do we always look at things and have this good attitude about it? I think we need to change our way of thinking. I'm still paying car insurance for a car that I haven't driven in 3 weeks. Sounds like you're saving a lot of money on gas. I only see the same 3 people day after day. That's great that you've had so much more time to spend with your family at home. There's no new sports to watch on TV. I've got good news for you. Your favorite sports team, currently technically undefeated. I need a haircut. Badly. You can learn to cut your own hair from home. But what if it turns out worse than it was before? Hair always grows back. Almost always. I haven't been able to visit my friends in weeks. And you've made more phone calls than ever. I haven't even left the house in weeks. And your dog couldn't be happier. Becoming an optimist is empowering. What we need to do is shift our thinking so that the pitfalls in our life suddenly seem like not that big of a deal. And I believe there's a passage in Philippians chapter 4 that's going to help us to change this way of thinking. And in Philippians chapter 4, I'm going to begin reading in verse 6. It says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus." You see, we have this ability to go to God in prayer. And so often when we have struggles in our lives, when we have complaints in our lives, when we are looking at the downside of things, often what we need is just someone to talk to, someone to vent to, someone that we can share these things in our lives that are hurting us. And just talking about it, just getting it out there, our problems start to diminish. Here in Philippians chapter 4, we're encouraged to go to God in prayer. And it says the God of peace, this God that has this peace that passes all understanding. That we have this ability that we can go to Him and we can talk to Him. We can share with Him these issues in our life. It continues there in Philippians chapter 4. We read verses 6 and 7, but look now at verse 8. After talking about going to God in prayer, making known to Him the things that we're dealing with, it says then in verse 8, finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. It says, meditate on these things, the things which you learned and received and heard and saw in me, these do, and the God of peace will be with you. There we see peace again. We see encouragement. We see comfort in God. There is comfort in God. And you see, when we have these things in our life where it's so easy to see the downside, instead it says meditate on these things, and it has this list of good things that God has shown us in this world. That if we meditate on these things, we will see the bright side. We can begin to shift our thinking toward becoming an optimist. There is comfort in God. There is peace in God. There is encouragement in the Lord. I have encouragement there, and I'm encouraged to share it with others. And I hope that you too will find ways that you can share this with others, that you can become an optimist, that you can feel empowered by it, and that you will share this comfort and this peace with others. There is power in becoming an optimist. And I hope that you will strive to look on the bright side of things. Thank you. All right, get down. You're messing up my hair.